Yeah, everyone, Nanami here. In 2022, I was asked to travel across Lutruwita and record our community's stories of quitting smoking. I heard so many great success stories of our people who managed to quit and got a good picture of why our people chose to quit, how they did it, and what supports they were able to access along the way. This is the Makara Patapa podcast.
Trudy Maluga, I'm the Aged Care Coordinator for the Launceston Tasmanian Aboriginal Centre office. I work with Launceston elders. I'm very privileged to work in that area with my people who've got a lot of wisdom and knowledge. I was brought up in the era of the 70s and 80s. So when I was little, my parents smoked in the car. So half the time I couldn't even breathe in that vehicle. Even though I wasn't smoking myself, about 7 or 8, I was smoking in that vehicle. When I grew up, I was a late bloomer. When I was working in the hospitality industry in about 21, 22, I started smoking myself my first cigarette. And that was because all my work associates, from the kitchen to the bar to the bottle, I were all smokers as well. So we'd go and have a cigarette. So that's when I first really started smoking and purchasing packets of cigarettes. When I was in my 30s, I started getting a lot of chest infections, so I stopped smoking for 6 years. I was unstoppable. And then my mother passed away, and both my sister and my niece was smoking all around me. It was quite a stressful time in my life. And while I was doing the funeral arrangements, I took up that cigarette smoking as well, and I regret that to this day. It was unpopular, it started to be unpopular to smoke, and a lot of people that I associated with stopped smoking. And it wasn't cool to smoke when you're walking down the street or anything, so people would give you the dirty looks. And my little girl, Heidi, was coming along too, so I needed to stop smoking for her. I did a lot of walking, so every time I needed a cigarette, I'd do a blockie. I'd always keep my hands busy. I stopped having a coffee of a morning and I changed it to a cup of tea. I really didn't hang around or associate with the heavy smokers anymore. I got all the flavour back into food because my taste buds come back to life. I could run around the block instead of walk around the block. I felt 100% like anything was achievable. Well, now I've since changed jobs, and sometimes it can be stressful, and the old habits kick back in to have a cigarette to calm me down, which I know is not the proper method. To this day, I don't really smoke much at home or weekends, but I still have that trigger, and that stress trigger makes me want to smoke. 6 years was the longest I've quit, say, over the past 4 years, probably about 5 times a year, a month at a time, and then a trigger will start me again. But the longest was 6 years. You know, it is an addiction, and your brain does say you need one. I think the willpower required gets stronger every time you try. And I know that probably next time when I pick a date that I want to give up, I'm going to make it next time. And it's so damn expensive, and the wages haven't come up, inflation comes up, and the cost of it is just, it's unbelievable. So that's also going to help me give up because it's going to become unaffordable. I want to do it for my daughter, and I know that if we go out in public and that, she won't allow me to smoke, and she tells me off constantly. So I keep on telling her it's an awful habit, and that I know that, because I hide when I smoke from my daughter anyway, that it stops with me that she will not smoke a cigarette as long as I live. Never give up on giving up. We're only human, and if it takes 1 or 2 or 5 or 6 times, at the end of the day when you succeed, your health is going to improve and you're going to live a better life.
Thanks for listening to the Makara Patapa podcast, a podcast series by the Tasmanian Aboriginal Centre with support from Public Health Services Tasmania.